Grant, I do not know what would make somebody want to take on the problems that Canada is in, but you are saying all of the right things. You are talking about globalism. You are talking about freedom. These are all things that are ringing very powerfully in the hearts of Canadians. So tell us who you are and what made you decide to enter such an epic race at this time in history in Canada.
Well, I think I said it in the video there. I hate watching myself, but I'm not a career politician. I've looked at the last 2 years. I've heard not a lot from the Conservative Party in relation to the deterioration of our rights and our freedoms in this country. I am grieved by what I see happening in relation to fundamental pillars that have held this country together. In fact, the foundation stones that built the nation. And I recognize that if we don't do something to fix this, it can get an awful lot worse. When I look at the Conservative Party, I see 2 elections recently that should have been won and have been forfeited. And I think that Canada deserves a better response than we've seen. There's a double-mindedness and a double standard being communicated from the party within the nation. And if I am given the opportunity to engage this conversation, I think that it would be beneficial, because we've got to start talking about these bigger issues of a global agenda. We need to start to talk about what it means to be a post-nation state. We need to talk about the implications of the UN and our debt and our economy. We need to talk about our national borders and our sovereignty and immigration. We need to talk about why the truckers went to Ottawa. And we're not having those real conversations, and it's high time we did, particularly given the fact that our Prime Minister is telling us that we're having a reset, that we're becoming a post-national state, and that he's implementing ground-sweeping changes that will impact our country for generations. And that was the narrative of the last election, and it wasn't discussed at all. So we're missing something. We're missing a big something.
We really, really are. And I think that Canadians have actually been traumatized. I've used that word, like literally traumatized from what has happened, from the concern that we could have our accounts frozen, to not having bodily autonomy, to thousands of people losing their jobs for not wanting to participate in something that they don't feel they want to participate in. But they fully give everyone the freedom to choose for themselves what they would do. But we have, a growing debt and a prime minister who is not listening. The Conservative Party of Canada. So that's also been a letdown, because I'm not certain that we've seen any of the leaders step up and say that they would become part of a solution for Canada. In the last couple of years, when we've all been going through a real nightmare, we watched all these people lose their jobs. Barely a word said. I realize some things, were said here and there, but I think that we all hoped that we'd have a Conservative Party that was fighting a little bit harder than we've seen.
Well, you used the word traumatized, and I think that is the net outcome of what's happened. I think when I look at what's happened the last 2.5 years, I look at the pathology, the system that has brought us to our trauma, and that has been that we have been disorientated by the pandemic. Canadians inherently trust their government, and yet in the middle of trusting the government to care for us and protect our health, they're bringing in ground sweeping social changes that are changing the very fabric of the nation. And so when I talk to people across the country, I hear them say, where is my nation gone? Where is Canada gone? Where's the Canada I know and love gone? And that is because the things that we know and understand on a gut level as Canadians are being changed. And language is being used to disorientate us, because there are words that we've used in this nation for generations that now have different meanings. For example, unity. Unity used to mean a fellowship of citizens aligned in spirit and purpose together. Now it means the agreement of a group of people if you align with a narrow banded ideological perception. And that's what unity means. And if you're not in alignment with that um, process of thought, you're outside, you're canceled, and you're not in unity, but it's irrelevant because you don't matter. And so words like that have snuck up on Canadians, and that's what's part of the root system of these ground sweeping changes that we're seeing. We know are wrong, but sometimes they're difficult to isolate and actually articulate what exactly is going on.
What are some of the things that you think will be helpful? Mainstream media is just so corrupt and doesn't give anyone a fair shot. So far, have you you know had any encounters with them? And what do you think about the CBC and the fact that Canadians pay for a completely biased, left-leaning, refusing to tell the truth kind of organization?
Yeah. So for me, at this stage in this process, I'm not trying to go far and wide. I'm trying to communicate with the grassroots, the people, the everyday people in Canada that are interested in keeping their way of life, and they understand fully what it means to be Canadian. Maybe they're people that are born here, and maybe they are people that have aspired to be here because of the promises that Canada has whispered to them from afar, and we're not offering the infrastructure or that environment for those promises to be fulfilled anymore. So I'm focusing on the people that know there's something wrong and want to support a leader that will bring the changes in the nation to return us to those promises. And until I process through the candidacy part of this application, I'm not concerned about engaging with the mainstream media until I actually will be released to a platform to begin to have some of the conversations we need to have that are real conversations about this country, where it's at, where it's going, and what will happen if we don't have them.
I find you to be, your message is very refreshing, and I think that you'd make an incredible leader. One of the problems has been that somebody who is not an insider and or does not really lean more to a, to the left side of the party or more of a liberal conservative has a hard time and sometimes gets disqualified in the process. Do you anticipate any trouble, or do you think that the Conservative Party that you hoped would be powerful in this nation, is this Conservative Party is going to be able to receive your candidacy and give you a fair shot at this?
Well, I can't speculate about that. I know there's an awful lot of really good people in the Conservative Party. I think from a cognitive perspective, I am a fiscal conservative in terms of understanding what needs to happen in terms of our economy and our monetary or fiscal policy. I also have a heart for social concerns, and I think that there is a platform that can be developed within the Conservative Party to appeal to both spectrums in relation to how the Conservative Party can craft an offering for Canadians in the next election. And we need to move to reunify. That's why my message in my preamble on my website is to those Canadians that have given up on democracy, and to those other Canadians that have become frustrated with the double standards they see within the Conservative Party and have moved to other parties. And what we're dealing with now in Canada is the embedding of a harmful ideology. It's actually ripping at the very fabric and the foundations of what have built this country. And I think conservative-minded people in this nation, right across the country, from BC to the Maritimes, understand that, and we need to come together and set aside the issues that have been allowed to disunify us, and return to the framework of understanding of responsible fiscal economic policy, but also find that symmetry of social policy that protects the vulnerable and helps those that are underprivileged have a leg up. And that historically has been the nature and the message of the Conservative Party. And we've lost that with discussions that fragment and a standard that allows one message to be communicated within the election of the leader of the party, and then another strategy that exists for Canadians when they poll at a national election. And that kind of double standard is not what Canadians want. They're sick of career politicians who are selling perspectives so that Canadians trust them. And then when it comes to important votes, or it comes to a narrative to get elected, they deviate from the trust that actually had people support them to get into leadership. And that's not what I'm about. It's not what I'm going to do. And we need to deal with that duality. And if that means that I'm not the person that they choose to lead the Conservative Party of Canada, that's okay. But we will understand the true nature of the party then, and then Canadians can begin to decide what they want to do as a response. And we're still a free nation. We can have other avenues of democracy. And it grieves me to see that Canadians are giving up on Canada and moving to other places and taking their wealth and leaving. I don't think it's a time for us to leave. It's a time for us to stand and to contend for the values of this nation, because we have an important role to play in this world. And we have an amazing nation of people that are fruitful in idea and responsible in their wealth. And it's exactly the kind of alchemy that creates an amazing country. And we need to return to those promises.